Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to give it another minute to make sure everybody who is wanting to be here gets a chance to log in and get their audio sorted. We'll start around 6:05, maybe 6:06. Okay, I think I will call us to order. Sometimes there's a big rush towards the end, but I think we're good. Is the sound okay if I could just get like thumbs up? Okay, I will call us to order then. Staff, if you catch something that I don't, please don't hesitate to speak up. Otherwise, I will take it away by beginning by acknowledging the beautiful ancestral traditional territories of the Lekwungen peoples here in what is colonially known as Victoria, and express my gratitude specifically to the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, on whose lands I am a very grateful guest. I just want to share with you my ongoing commitment to walk softly on these lands and to teach my children to walk softly on these lands with great respect and gratitude for the people who have been stewarding these lands since time immemorial. Um, I want to say Haichka Siem to you. I had the pleasure of listening to a prayer by Elder May Sam from Sartlet First Nation this week, and she shared with us Haichka being the most honorable way of recognizing someone. It's a greeting and it's also an expression of gratitude in the Lekwungen language, and Siem, which means she related it to being rich, but not rich in terms of money, but rich in terms of our relationships, our families, and our connection to the land. And I know all of us here in BC have so much Siem to be grateful for in the incredible lands we're lucky enough to occupy. And so I invite all of you to think about your relationship to the lands that we are on and your relationship to the First Nations and Métis people, and all of the Indigenous folks that we share in our communities, and to the peoples on whose lands you are currently joining us from. So you're welcome to share your own acknowledgement in the chat. I know we're coming from all over. While I may be in Lekwungen territory, I know many of you are in other places. So please feel free to share or just to take a moment to reflect. Um, But yes, Heichka CM, I'm Jordan Waters. I'm the chair of the board, at least for the duration of this meeting. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm lucky enough to get to walk us through this meeting. Our quorum is 10 members present. So we have met the bar. We have many of our board of directors are attending together in person on Musqueam territory, I believe, from UBC. So I believe we have quorum. Not hearing any concern or words otherwise. So I'll just start by taking us through some housekeeping items. So as we move through the agenda, we'll use the chat function to share any relevant files or links. And there are lots of different pieces that you should have received in advance, but we'll make sure that you get links to them as we go. And if you haven't had a chance to review, you can certainly do that anytime, because there's lots of great information there. The agenda, minutes, and annual report will all go into the chat. And once we get into our business here in just a minute, I'll be asking for a motion and a seconder in the chat to move forward with the voting. And then there'll be a little poll that pops up on your screen for each motion that needs to be passed. And so you'll vote by either selecting in favor, oppose, or abstain. We're going to keep it up for 45 seconds, at least, to allow everyone time to vote. That seemed to work really well in the last few years since we've adjusted to this virtual context. Once the poll is closed, we can confirm if the motion is passed. So I just ask everybody to be patient, as it might take a few moments for us to tally and provide an answer if the motion has carried. And just in general with process, I find it's better to move slow than fast. Slow is steady and steady is fast, or something like that. If there's anybody who is sharing the screen with another participant, please feel free to indicate this in the chat, and then we can reach out to you separately to collect your individual votes if the votes are very close. I'm not sure that we have anything too controversial this evening, but certainly if there are more than one member joining from one screen, we're ready to be able to capture both your votes. So everyone is muted when we came into the meeting, just to help keep the focus and nobody's talking over each other. But if you have any logistical questions or would like clarification on items discussed, please enter these in the chat. And we do have folks who are monitoring, and I will keep a very close eye as well, so that we can make sure to capture everything and provide appropriate responses. We also ask that you use the reaction buttons to raise your hands if you would like to speak, and then I can call upon you. And then if you can't find the little hand raise button, like me, that button likes to hide, just type into the chat, "I'd like to speak," and we'll call upon you to do so. And just be patient with me if I miss anything. We've got a lot of eyes on this, so we can always pull back to see it. So I'm hoping that that's clear and everybody can hear me. Our agenda has been posted there, and we do have quorum, and we have beautiful, I love seeing everybody's recognition of territory coming in the chat. It's great to see where everybody's from. Okay, so hopefully that's all pretty clear. The agenda has been on the Sierra Club BC's website and is now also in the chat. And it is as follows, as you can see on the screen. We have 16 items that we are going to move through. A welcome and call to order, approval of the agenda, and then the minutes. I will provide a report from the chair, then we'll have a report from the executive director, an update on campaigns, an update on education, appointment of an auditor, bylaw amendments, board chair departure, appointment of incoming board chair, election of directors, appointment of vice chair, appointment of treasurer, local leader awards, always a highlight, closing remarks, and adjournment. May I have a motion to approve the agenda in the chat and a seconder? Let's see. I see it's moving backwards for me. No, it's not. Motion to approve. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate you. May I please have a seconder? Thank you, Leanne. Is that your hand being a seconder? Okay. So now we've got a poll popping up to approve the agenda. In favor, opposed, or abstain. So please indicate your vote by clicking your preferred vote and submit. I technically don't vote unless there's a tie, but I voted in that one. I assume it's going to be a landslide. We'll wait here to find out. I assume our results will pop up here. This is the part I was warning you about where we had to wait. Woohoo, 100% a landslide. Good, we are off to an excellent start. Our next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our 2023 AGM. I remember it like it was yesterday. Copies of minutes have been on the website. It was held October 19th, 2023, and they're also in the chat box for reference. And now I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the minutes. And then a seconder. And then I will call the question, we'll vote again. Somebody able to move the motion by commenting in the chat? Okay, we have somebody from the in-person. I've got Bruce. I guess our minute taker hopefully is also in person there. And we'll know who that is. Yes. If you could give me the name of who's moving the motion, I would really appreciate it. And Bruce seconds. So I will call. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Bruce. All those in favor of approving the 2023 AGM minutes, please indicate. And the results will pop up here in a moment. Okay. The motion carries. Okay, so now it is my pleasure and honor to provide the membership with a report from the chair. I want to start by expressing my deep gratitude for all of you who have joined us today. Like all nonprofit organizations and We are the sum of our parts, and you, our membership, are the most important parts of our organization. The way that you show up for Sierra Club and for our mission is deeply appreciated by myself and all members of our board of directors. So on behalf of the whole board, I want to thank you for upholding the values and commitments of Sierra Club, stewarding abundant local ecosystems, building resilient communities, and advocating for a low carbon, equitable, and just economy as we approach election time provincially and soon nationally. The way that you carry yourself in community in alignment with these values are so important, and we're so grateful. It's been a real honor to serve as chair of this board and to get a front row seat to the incredible, innovative, and heart-centered work of Sierra Club's incredible staff. My favorite part of the AGM is always hearing directly from them about all that they have achieved on behalf of our members and our communities in the past year, and all the important relationships that they have fostered. So I won't steal their thunder, but I do want to recognize all of that work that is going on. It doesn't go unnoticed. And I also want to recognize that this has all happened in the context of change, in the sense that we have our executive director has been on leave. And so we have Fiona, our interim executive director, who has stepped in and so capably held us and brought real focus on process and service, and making sure that nothing gets dropped, and that all of our staff and people leaders are supported in the work that they do. Fiona, you really are incredible, and I know that it is a great relief to Hannah to know that this organization that she cares about so deeply is in such good hands. And thank you to all our staff who've really rolled with those changes. It can be pretty challenging when you have new people coming in and new people leaving. And I also want to thank the board for all of your work over the last year and through the changes that we have seen among us. Being a director on a volunteer board is a high level of commitment, and I really thank you all so much for showing up and the spirit with which you show up. And yeah, I'm grateful for all of your contributions. I've learned from all of you, and yeah, I wish you all the best as you continue to advance your shared goals. And just want to acknowledge that I've served 4 years on the board, and the last couple as chair. And yeah, it's been a great honor, and it's always sad to leave. So I won't belie the fact. But thank you for letting me serve in this way. It's been an honor. It's now my absolute pleasure to turn the meeting over to our interim executive director, Fiona Douglas Crampton, to provide her report. Thank you so much, Fiona, for all you do. The mic is yours.
Thank you so much, Jordan. I want to acknowledge that I am coming today from the traditional and unceded lands of the Musqueam people. I feel very privileged to be here. We've been here for the last few days, meeting on these lands, and have spent a lot of time as a team understanding and learning about the lands that we're on, how they have been taken care of over the last hundreds and thousands of years. For the people who have come before us. And it has been a real honor to be gathering here and planning the great work that we're doing on behalf of Sierra Club. As Jordan said, I am here in the capacity of interim executive director. My pronouns are she, her. And I have here while Hannah is on her maternity leave for 18 months. I've actually been in this role for 7 months now, which has flown by. And my focus in coming into this role has really been on listening and learning and doing what I can to nurture the roots of this organization. So when I first came on board, I made it a priority to meet with everyone on the team and the board, and some themes emerged that I felt could really help us nurture and strengthen the organization, specifically the people who are engaged in this important work. And those themes, there were 3 of them. They are clarity, capacity, and connection. And so I want to start with clarity. The first thing that we had to do was determine how to best figure out the leadership oversight of the organization between myself and Shelley Luce, who is the Associate Director and Campaigns Director. And so it was determined between us that we would make sure that we were overseeing the areas that were our strengths and where it would be our highest and best use. So I oversee all the board relations, of course, finance, fund development, operations, and HR. And Shelley oversees campaigns, education, and communications. So that division of oversight has worked really well over the past few months and has really tapped into the strengths and experience that Shelley and I each have. In my initial meetings, it became clear that along with clarifying roles and responsibilities and who everyone is going to report to, there was also a need to identify exactly what roles are needed during this interim period and beyond. And I will talk a little bit more about that later. The other piece of clarity that I thought was really important was that we needed a salary review because one had not been done since 2020. And given all the changes in the economy and the NGO landscape, this was identified as a priority. So we are in the midst of doing a salary review right now. It should be completed before mid-October, and just in time for us to do performance reviews and for budget preparation. And of course, the other piece to clarifying our vision was the strat plan, making sure that we had the strat plan finalized. That is an important piece of clarity for the team. This piece of the strat plan is for 2024 to 2027. And as you can see here, this is our overall vision, which is a healthy, life-sustaining planet where humans respect the dignity and interdependence of all living beings. And our mission is to support people stewarding abundant ecosystems and a stable climate while building resilient, equitable communities. And I won't go into great detail of the strat plan and all of its details, but it is it has been sent out to everyone and it is in the chat. I just wanted to highlight that some of the things that we'll be working on, which you'll hear in much more detail as we go through the presentation, will be supporting local leaders. We have tangible goals for working with communities and engaging in cohorts of our Mother Tree Local Leaders program. We have a huge commitment to upholding Indigenous legal orders and reaching students. We've got a goal, tangible goals for reaching 3,000 students and restoring our relationships workshop, making those types of things accessible online. You'll hear a lot more about all of those things. And the next piece that I want to talk about is organizational capacity. One of the most urgent issues at hand when I came on board was hiring to fill several critical gaps in the organization's chart and to ensure that those gaps were not just filled, but we got the right people in the right roles. And so to date, since I've been here, we have hired Sam Carpenter as our membership services coordinator. We've hired Brooklyn Carey as our grants and partnerships manager. And we've hired Erica Padley as our Indigenous facilitator. There are also plans in the works for hiring in the campaigns area as well. And we've also focused a lot on streamlining and improving processes, which has made a huge impact on increasing the capacity of our team. And the last piece is connection. This team is incredibly nurturing and supportive of each other. And my job has been to support that and to find ways to ensure that that continues. We took an opportunity after our fundraising event in Victoria in May to have sort of a staff old growth outing on Vancouver Island. And we spent the day at Jurassic Grove and Botanical Beach with many of the team members camping together overnight in Port Renfrew. The feedback on how this connected us to our work, to the land and to each other was overwhelmingly positive. So we have made those types of gatherings a priority for this team. The other thing that is difficult, of course, not only because we have our team partially in Vancouver and partially on Vancouver Island, is I heard a lot about the lost connection that has happened through working remotely during COVID, and the need that the team felt to try and meet in person more often. So we put in a temporary measure, which worked for those of us in Vancouver. We would meet at a coffee house downtown and book boardrooms when we needed to do job interviews or meetings that were best done in person. But there was really a need for us to have a home in Vancouver, and there are many benefits, practical and connection-wise, mental health-wise, and for providing the proper access for people to do their work, that we decided it was really important to establish a Vancouver office. And we have just done that. We now have 12 members of our team are in the Lower Mainland, and we've started a pilot project for 15 months where we are in a co-working space in downtown Vancouver. And so far that has gone very, very well, been really positive, and the team has been excited to use that space and meet there. I've also spent a lot of time in my first few months learning about SCBC history, both long-term and recent, about our relationships and our partnerships with Indigenous communities, about Indigenous legal orders, and educating myself on the challenges and the opportunities that are ahead of us in all areas of our work. I've been fortunate enough to be able to attend several of our events while I've been here. You can see some photos of some of those events here. The bottom one on the left was our donor event in Victoria at the gardens at the Horticultural Center of the Pacific, which was a really amazing event. And also we had the staff outing to the old growth after that. We also participated and were very, very honored to be guests at the Tsleil-Waututh water ceremony in Kate's Park, which you can see photos there at the top left and the top right. And the middle photograph in the top is a supper club that we had, a dinner outside, which was an amazing donor event as well. And so these are some of the things that we have connected us to each other, but to you, our donors and supporters, and a way for us to show our appreciation for your support and for your and to allow you to participate in the work that we do. So speaking of you as donors, we will move on to fund development. I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time on fund development, except to say that I want to appreciate all of our donors and supporters. We have been so fortunate this year to not only be able to continue some very key relationships, but we have new relationships that we have forged. Some that have been around for a couple of years, Ernest Ice Cream. We've forged a new relationship with the Parkside Hotel in Victoria. We are looking forward to a very healthy and positive year end for our fund development efforts, both in the areas of private revenue and donations and in the area of our grants and partnerships. We have some amazing people working on our fund development teams, and I am very excited about the work that they are doing with our donors and supporters, and about the future we have in connecting with all of you. And I just want to thank you for all you have done to contribute to our work. And I will now hand the microphone over to Shelley Luce, our Associate Director and Campaigns Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona. And good evening, everyone. I am so happy to have a few moments to talk about our campaigns at Sierra Club BC over the last year. I'll share some updates about forests, climate, biodiversity, and our Mother Tree Local Leaders program. When we talk about 30 by 30, we at Sierra Club, we mainly work on forests and we have a strong focus on old growth. So I have some updates here about that. And I also just want to emphasize that each new protected area is so important and exciting and something to really celebrate. And there were some amazing new protected areas announced over the last year. Overall, progress on 30 by 30 has been happening slowly. And we still have some ways to go. About 15% of the province is currently in some kind of protected or conserved area. And that's been over the last 100 years. So in the next 5 years, we need to get another 15% to get us to 30 by 30. It's a huge goal and many, many people are committed to making it happen. At the moment, we're adding protected areas at something less than 1% of the land per year. So we definitely need to work together to make that happen more quickly. And that is a really important goal for us and something that we have a very strong focus on. The provincial government released a new plan to implement old growth protections through the Old Growth Strategic Plan, which had its 4-year anniversary this year. And it did not include very strong actions and timelines. So that's something that we are pushing for on that. And we continue to produce data and reporting for the public so that the public can see where progress is being made. And one of the pieces I want to highlight is a map that we produced last year showing that, I need to look at my screen here, showing that more than a third of Vancouver Island's old growth forests have been logged since the Clayoquot Sound protests 30 years ago. And the areas that weren't logged are the areas immediately around Clayoquot Sound where First Nations have led protection efforts. So it's just kind of illustrating the importance of those Indigenous protected and conserved areas and the importance of all of our support for those areas. Next slide, please. I also want to talk about biodiversity, in part because protecting 30% of lands and waters is really important for ecological integrity and connectivity, but there's still another 70% of the lands and waters left, and we need clean air and good habitat for people and all the beings to thrive on that other 70%. And that's one reason why the biodiversity and ecosystem health framework is so important, because this shifts the emphasis so that we are protecting and prioritizing biodiversity and ecosystem health in all decision-making on all the lands and waters. The province made a great start on this, and at Sierra Club, we were part of an effort that resulted in 7,000 letters of support being submitted to the province for this framework. And the letters that came from our folks were kind of unique in that many of them were very well informed and had very specific points where they wanted to see it strengthened. And that's in part because of our Move the Dial program. With the Move the Dial for Biodiversity program, we're working with people who are grassroots activists, have a lot of energy, and are ready to take it to the next level and impact policy. And they've done so by bringing motions to their city councils. I think 14 actually councils across the province adopted biodiversity motions, which then went to the Union of BC Municipalities and were adopted there and have moved on to the province. So the province and all of our towns and cities, many of our towns and cities are seeing such strong support for this. Those same folks were able to weigh in a really meaningful way on the biodiversity ecosystem health framework. Unfortunately, that framework was put on pause earlier this year. We and the NGO community are certainly really interested in seeing that pick up again early in 2025. So that's one thing that we'll be pushing hard for. Next slide, please. Thank you. I'm really excited to talk about our fire messaging campaign. This is a campaign that occurred mostly on social media, but the messaging also was throughout our organizational communication. And what we tried to do with this campaign is really connect the dots for people on how fossil fuel burning and poor forestry management together have contributed to the severity and intensity and size and frequency of wildfires, which impact our entire province at this point. We've had some really bad years. Some years may not be as bad, but overall these fires are getting worse and many, many people have been impacted by them. And so our messaging really focused on sharing with people how these are directly connected to climate change and poor forest management. And one of the things that we did differently with this campaign was we brought in a lot of different messengers. So it's not just me talking about it, it's not just Sierra Club talking about it. We worked with an Indigenous firefighter and cultural burn practitioner. We worked with a best-selling author. We worked with a poet, small business owner and survivor of the Lytton fires. And we gave people the space to share with our supporters in a webinar that was attended by 1,000 people, just how these fires impacted their lives and are connected to climate change. So this is a bit of a new approach for us, and it's something that we plan to continue, bringing in diverse voices so that we have many perspectives to help us find new paths to solutions. I should say 1,000 people registered for that webinar, not attended that webinar, but hopefully if you registered and didn't attend, you're watching it online because it's really, really interesting and worthwhile. And the last thing I want to talk about is our Mother Tree Local Leaders program. This is a really exciting program. It's 2 or 3 years old now. It's evolving all the time and it has enormous potential for us. It's a really important way for us to grow our networks by building deep relationships. These are not quick hits. These are people who commit to multiple 2 and 3 hour sessions over a 2 or 3 month period, and undertake some very deep learning, and then bring that learning back to their network. So we're focused on people who are part of an existing network so that we can move entire groups of people and institutions into meaningful climate action. For example, right now we're running workshops with Mother Tree alumni, we call them, who are eager to meet with their MLAs and candidates to elevate climate change issues in this important election time. And also when they have those meetings, we facilitate them bringing members of their network with them, sharing this knowledge, passing it on. And we feel that this is a really important way for us to have a very big impact, even with our staff of 20 people. And I also want to mention the water ceremony with the Tsleil-Waututh Sacred Trust. That included Mother Tree program participants who are themselves connected to faith networks, sharing their spiritual teachings about the lands and waters with the community members who joined the ceremony at the Burrard Inlet, where the TMX pipeline is currently transporting diluted bitumen and where the Tsleil-Waututh Nation is still committed to opposing that project. So it really brought a lot of people together and moved people to a place where they're ready to commit to helping with that opposition. And I could go on for a long time about other projects and programs we have underway. So if anyone is interested in talking about any of these with me, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to speak with you. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Shelley. I'm gonna bring this mic down a little bit. Hello, everyone. My name is Kate. I go by she, they pronouns, and I am the new education program lead here at Sierra Club BC. I'm going to talk a little bit about the education program. So in the education team, we focus on providing land-based learning experiences for people across the province. We prioritize inquiry-based learning that invites learners into a relationship with the beings in their backyard. And we focus on place-based learning. And in doing so, we work with Indigenous collaborators to respectfully weave in local knowledges into all areas of our work. The majority of our work is done through in-person environmental education workshops, which I love, and they're available to school classes, homeschool groups, clubs, and communities across the province. So these are free of charge, and our team travels out to these learning communities in question and runs the program on school grounds or in a nearby green space or in a park. And these are our current programs. So we have, for kindergarten, we have nature and gathering places. For grades 1 to 2, we have life cycles and ecosystems. For 3 to 5, it's plants and people making connections, which is my personal favorite. For grades 6 to 8, we have climate and place, community-based thinking, and grades 9 to 12 are place-based learning, reimagining our relationships with other beings. So this year, our areas of service were in the Metro Vancouver area, the Mid-Northern Vancouver Island regions, and the Capital Regional District. These were all areas where members of our team were physically located and could easily access. For communities located in more remote areas of BC, our open access environmental education resources, online presentations, and education webinars continue to be available to them. So speaking of our education webinars, one of our most popular ones is still the Learn to Draw series, which is done in collaboration with scientific illustrator, Dr. Julius Chittany. These webinars feature drawing lessons and conversations centered around different local beings and ecosystems. Some of examples of ones that we ran in the previous school year were orb weaving spiders, river otters, and beavers. So these reached over 2,000 people with over 200 teachers watching alongside their classes. So to keep the learning going beyond webinar or workshop time, the education team develops supporting resources, which we make available to anyone and everyone on our website and in our education e-newsletter. Our more recent offerings of education resources always blend Western science and Indigenous connections. So we aim to support formal and non-formal educators in a variety of ways. One example is the education resources that I just talked about, which are free and available on our website. And these resources can and have been used in classrooms, homeschool groups, and camps. And we aim to strengthen teacher and teacher candidates' capacity through professional development workshops. These increase their confidence to facilitate environmental education, and often teachers who come to these professional development days are physical education teachers who are looking to expand on interdisciplinary approaches. As many of you know, youth are the future of change in this world, and it's important that we can reach youth of various backgrounds, especially those who are most impacted by the climate crisis. So by providing consistent free programming, we can help deepen the impact that we have on youth and their inspiration to protect the earth. As always, education has had a full and busy year, and I am grateful for you all in sharing in this moment with us. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Rob Gilzo, who is the board treasurer.
Thanks so much. And apologies for not being able to be there in person with so many people. So I'm calling in today from the traditional homelands of the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. I'm Rob, pronouns he, him, and I'm the outgoing treasurer of Sierra Club BC. In my day job, I'm a professor of economics. So, you know, I'm kind of typecast into this role, but, you know, I could talk about the numbers for a long time, but I will keep it brief given that we've got a pretty long meeting, and if folks want to follow up afterwards, feel more than free. For folks who haven't noticed, in the comments, we should have the financial statements for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2023. They're also up on our website online. I'd urge you to, take a quick look. They're easy to read. And I'm happy to report, as to when I did this last year, that we have a clean fiscal picture and the organization is in really good shape. We're in a strong fiscal position. And why is that the case? Because we're members, our donors, and because we have a bunch of hardworking staff who apply fiscal discipline in their work. Now, 2023 overall, I would say it wasn't an easy year for nonprofits in general. It was a period of transition where we saw pandemic financial supports having wound down, totally appropriate, that makes sense. Structural change is still hard, and they wound down in a period where we had sky-high inflation, or at least for those of us who don't remember the economies of the 1980s all that well. That is an operating challenge to any organization, and that includes nonprofits. So, take that eye to the figures when you see them. So given that context, as per what you have up on the screen now, I'm happy to report that even with a tightening of the fiscal situation in 2023, we're still in a good position. The numbers still balance. So, if I were to frame it in terms of, what's the bad news? Compared with 2022, we saw a meaningful decline in revenue. And it's not trivial. It's not a trivial decline, right? Revenues fell from 3.6 million to just under 2.9 million. That's a big deal, but that is not out of the norm for nonprofits in this period, right? When inflation really becomes tight and when wages don't keep up, that hits nonprofits. That is something that we were expecting, and it's not something that we were surprised to see in the data. Now, on the flip side, that decline in revenues is largely mirrored on the expense side, with expenses falling from 3.2 million to 2.8 million. And so what's the end result? Our surplus declined. But we're a nonprofit, right? You don't want to be running large surpluses on a regular basis, right? That's not the job of the organization. We can run a surplus sometimes to make sure that we have rainy day funds. But ideally we want to be close to balance in a typical year. And so we saw a decline in surplus, our surplus from $392,000 in 2022 to 70,000 in 2023, which I actually think is kind of the right spot for our organization. So that is a-okay, right? We weathered this pretty difficult period, and with inflation back down, right, we should expect the picture to be probably a little bit better in the medium run would be my expectation. Now, with respect to our broader financial picture, we are in great shape if we look at our assets. We have current assets of about $2.7 million, outstripping our current liabilities of just over 1.1. That's excellent, and we're in a pretty good cash position. So overall, I'm happy to report that Sierra Club BC remains in a strong position going forward. I don't know if we can really handle questions here. I'm happy to take any emails or anything if you do have questions about the books. And so maybe at this point, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the audited financial statements as presented here and that are linked to in the chat. Great. So I guess all members in favor, please respond in the poll that I guess will be posted. There we go. Do we have those results in? Excellent. So the motion passes. So my only other piece of business is, the boring one that we have to do at all these meetings. I'd like to recommend that we continue with our longstanding practice of using KPMG as our auditors for the fiscal year ending, in this case, December 31st, 2024. So with that, can I have a motion to approve KPMG as Sierra Club BC's auditor for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024? I guess I can move. We've got a seconder. Excellent. So let's toss that poll up and see who supports it, opposes, and abstains. Okay, the motion is passed. And with that, I'm all done, and I'll hand the meeting off to Jordan.
Thank you for allowing me to unmute. And thank you, Rob, for all your work. Our next item of business at number 9 on our agenda is a special resolution, which will drop in the chat. This is to amend the bylaws of the foundation. It's attached to Schedule A. These changes are to adapt our current bylaws to adjustments made to the Societies Act requirements in recent years. So it allows us to remain in compliance with our legal duties. A copy of the notice of special resolution and the attached Schedule A are available on our website and have also been shared in the chat. While it's always significant to amend the bylaws in a way, this one is really housekeeping in terms of our need to stay in compliance. May I have a motion to approve this special resolution to amend the bylaws of the foundation as attached Schedule A lays out? And thank you, Carrie. May I have a seconder? Thank you, Bruce. Okay, all those in favor, the poll shall pop up. We have really gotten efficient with this. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so the motion has carried. Thank you so much. I'm now going to turn the chair back over to Fiona with a little bit of trepidation for this section of our agenda. Here's Fiona Douglas Crampton, our interim executive director.
Not to worry, Jordan. This is not going to be a roast, I promise. It's my honor and privilege to be able to thank Jordan for her service as board chair. Jordan, as many of you will know if you've worked with her, is very skilled at governance and decision making. And she also has a keen eye to focus on the most important issues at hand. And she needs that because she has a very, very full and busy life. She juggles a lot of things, very busy job and family and other volunteer priorities. And she has found a way to make the Sierra Club of BC a big priority. She would often lament to me that she wished she could give more capacity and had more capacity to give to the organization. But I found that she was able to pinpoint the most important things. She knew how to focus. She knew how to support me whenever I needed it. I really have appreciated her perspective, her openness to brainstorming, her ability to listen to ideas before making a decision. And I want to thank her personally for putting her trust in me so quickly and for balancing the big picture view with a kind and thoughtful approach. So on behalf of the entire Sierra Club BC team, I'd like to thank Jordan for her leadership, her service, and for the guidance that she's given me and the organization in her time as chair. Thank you so much, Jordan.
Thank you, Fiona. I do wish that I could have given more, that I could have answered emails faster, that Catherine didn't have to chase me around quite as much. The work we've done together is really meaningful, and I'm glad to have contributed in some small way. So thank you very much, Fiona. It means a lot. I might have to print out the transcript and put it on my wall for those days where I wonder what I'm doing. So I am stepping down. I have 3 little kids and a very busy job, and I just know that it's time to to let somebody else take on the role who has more capacity to give it all that it needs. I'm happy to share that for my replacement as board chair, both the Sierra Club BC directors and staff are recommending Carrie Baisley for the position. Carrie, thank you so much for your willingness to step forward. He is a current board member and brings to this role a wealth of experience. He is a past board member of the 127th Society for Housing and a member of Métis Nation of British Columbia. He's been a missioner for Indigenous justice for the Anglican Diocese of New Westminster since 2020. And he worked for over 35 years in public service in positions ranging from emergency child welfare in BC's Lower Mainland to regional social worker in what was then called Indian Affairs in the Yukon, and medical social work in residential care. He also worked as a public guardian and trustee of BC, where he was the manager for healthcare decisions, and he was most recently director of client relations and risk management in Richmond Hospital with Vancouver Coastal Health, where he worked for 10 years. And lucky for us, he is recently retired and we didn't want him to have a moment's rest. So I'm very pleased. It makes it so much easier when it's always hard to step away, especially from a position as chair, but it makes it a whole lot easier when the person that is being put forward to step into the chair is as qualified as Carrie, but also as kind and committed and positive. So may I have a motion to approve Carrie Baisley as board chair of the Sierra Club BC Foundation? I would move the motion if I could. Thank you, Catherine. And may I have a seconder? Oh, Aurora seconds. Thank you so much. We'll have the poll pop up and all members can indicate if you vote in favor or opposed. Just wait for the results. 100%. A landslide. Congratulations and thanks again, Carrie. I'm now going to turn to the election of directors. In this case, it is a re-election. 3 of our existing board members are up for re-election for another 2-year term. These are Alex Flavel, Dakota McGovern, and Rob Gillizo. May I have a motion to approve these individuals to continue as directors of the Sierra Club of BC Foundation for another 2-year term? Thank you, Mary. May I have a seconder? Thank you, Maria. Now we'll have the poll pop up and you can indicate your perspective in favor, opposed, or abstain. Okay, thank you so much. Motion carries. Next, I will move over to appointment of the vice chair, which is an open position. Nobody's currently in that role. So to fulfill this position for our board of directors, we are recommending current board member Alex Flavel for this role. With a long interest in forests and people, Alex did an MSc in forestry, focusing on indigenous agroforestry in Papua New Guinea, and went on to work over the next 20 years with forest-based indigenous communities in Southeast Asia, Africa, and BC, helping to develop tools for community-based mapping and forest planning. Living in a small rural community in the Kootenays, she worked for Silva Forest Foundation and then joined the board. She was a founder of the Slocan, or is a founder of the Slocan Integral Forest Co-op and director of the Winlaw Watershed Committee. She then expanded her practice with studies in conflict resolution through the Justice Institute of BC. Alex has been such a important contributor on the board, and I'm glad to see her being recommended for vice chair. So may I please have a motion to approve Alex Flavel as vice chair of the Sierra Club of BC Foundation? And a seconder. Thank you, Carrie and Aria. We'll have the poll pop up, please. Please indicate your vote. And the motion carries. Next up, we're turning to appointment of treasurer. Although remaining on the board of directors, Rob Gilliza will be stepping down from his role as treasurer. We're so grateful to Rob for his diligent and thoughtful work during his time in this position and for continuing to support the work of the finance committee. And to fulfill the role of treasurer for Sierra Club BC, we are recommending Dakota McGovern. Dakota has served on several committees for Sierra Club BC, including our fundraising and finance committees. He is a fundraiser, writer, and organizer, and has spent several years working extensively in grassroots and not-for-profit organizations. He has been a professional fundraiser for 2 charities, sat on multiple boards, and has served as the University of Victoria Student Society's Director of Finance and Operations. May I have a motion to approve Dakota McGovern as treasurer of the Sierra Club of BC Foundation? And a seconder. Thank you, Carrie. Just need a seconder. Thank you so much, Dakota, for your willingness to step forward for this critically important role. Thank you, Bruce. The motion is on the floor. Can we have the poll, please? Thank you. Those results should pop up momentarily. Favor. Many thanks. The motion carries. And now I will turn the meeting back to Environmental and Indigenous Governance Coordinator Asher Goodman for the highlight of the evening, the Local Leader Awards.
Okay. I will start again. Thanks, Jordan. Okay. Hi, everyone. I am here with our in-person team on Musqueam lands. My name is Asher Goodman. My pronouns are they and them, and I work with the amazing organizing team at Sierra Club BC. Tonight, I have the honor of giving out our local leader awards. So these are recognition of some of the amazing good work that wonderful people who are nurturing their human and non-human communities are doing. So our first award is the Rosemary Fox Conservation Achievement Award. And this year it's going to Carolyn Yardley. Sierra Club BC developed the Rosemary Fox Conservation Achievement Award to recognize individuals for significant achievement in protecting the lands, waters, and beings who call them home. This year, the award goes to Carolyn Yardley for her excellent work in getting 2 pro-biodiversity resolutions passed in Victoria that advocate for the creation of a local natural areas protection fund. Getting a resolution passed at City Council can involve a lot of perseverance and a lot of emails. Carolyn was excellent at building bridges with city councilors, and her well-timed communications with them got these pro-biodiversity resolutions over the line. Huge congratulations. Carolyn is also a very active member of the Garry Oak Meadow Preservation Society, or GOMPS, formed in 1992, which is a society dedicated to the preservation, protection, and restoration of Garry Oak ecosystems. Thank you, Carolyn, for all you do for our local ecosystems. The next award we have is the Geraldine Irby Award for Volunteerism. And this year it's going to my personal friend, Elaine Perry. The Geraldine Irby Award for Volunteerism recognizes those who work behind the scenes and lay the groundwork for the organization's success. This year's recipient, Elaine Perry. Elaine was at the center of getting the Mother Tree Local Leaders Project off the ground. She worked with her church, St. Andrews Wesley, to secure generous funding for the project, which made a dream into reality. Now, 18 months on, we have been able to run 3 cohorts of the Mother Tree Local Leaders program, allowing us to deepen our relationships with faith communities across the Metro Vancouver area. Thank you, Elaine. Your passion and belief in the power of deep, transformative climate work and your ability to think outside the box has given us the inspiration and motivation to keep the momentum going. Next, we have the Jack Hemphill Exceptional Volunteer Service Award, and this year it's going to Brad Foster. Jack Hemphill's memory is honored by this award, which recognizes individuals for their valuable contributions and commitment as volunteers. This year's recipient is Brad Foster for his tireless work to create ecosystem corridors and conserve the grassland ecosystem of the Commonage area of the Okanagan. Brad has been working with local governments and organizations to help promote the protection of this very special area in the North Okanagan. This unique place is absolutely vital for ensuring ecosystem health of the region. Protecting the Commonage is incredibly important if we want to preserve habitat corridors up and down the Okanagan and the endangered species that call this area home. Thank you to Brad for your tireless work to preserve the Commonage and spread the word about the importance of ecosystem connectivity. And finally, we have the Yahudang Award. Ooh, I think I pronounced that wrong. Yagudang means respect for all beings in the Haida language. And this Climate Justice Award recognizes individuals whose work lies at the intersection of climate justice and transformative justice. This year, we are pleased to present this award to Megan Fandrick, a local leader who survived the Lytton Fire and is reaching thousands of people across Canada through her poetry and her story. Megan is a neurodivergent writer, editor, and parent on the edge of Lytton, BC. She is the author of Burning Sage, Poems from the Lytton Fire. Lytton is just a word to most people. The town that burned down in an hour one day after thermometers hit a record-breaking 49.6 degrees Celsius. But to Megan, it was her community, her home, and the location of the cafe she started, where her daughter Helen took her first steps. Through her loss and grief, Megan went to Ottawa this spring to tell politicians her story and to call for a strong emissions cap on Canada's fossil fuel sector. Since the fire, she's been piecing her life together bit by bit after tremendous loss and heartache. And part of that has been writing unflinching poetry in her book, Burning Sage, which we recommend to everyone. We recognize Megan for her commitment to creating a more just future and a safer climate for all of us. Thank you, Megan, for all the work that you do. Thank you to all of our local leader recipients. You will be receiving a card and gift cards a card and gift in the mail as a token of our appreciation. So thank you so much. Back to you, Jordan.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all of our amazing recipients. It's always really exciting to hear all the things that people are doing out there. Yeah, it's just a real honor to sort of sit and witness and celebrate all that's been accomplished by our local leaders, award recipients. So we're now at the end of our agenda. Which is a little sad for me, but also really exciting for all that's going to come in the coming year. Before we go, I'd like to draw your attention to our annual report, which we've dropped into the chat. This highlights some key facts and figures. It's also been posted on our website. And if you're ever curious about what we are doing, this is a really good place to go to get a sense of what's been accomplished. A very special thanks to all of our board members, staff, and all of our amazing volunteers and champions. You make the dream work, and we're so grateful for all of you. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Thank you, Carrie. And a seconder? Thank you, Aria. We'll have a poll pop up now. And you can vote whether we shall adjourn our meeting. And we're all in favor of closing the evening. Thank you so much for spending the last hour and a quarter with us and for all you do for the lands of and waters and air of BC. We look forward to seeing you all at our next AGM. We are adjourned. Thanks so much, everyone. Good night.